Well, good morning, magandang umaga, and welcome to today's episode of My PI Dream. Today is Tuesday, and it is the second day of the work week. But today's the second day of the work week that we will be doing work without workers. Well, unless you can consider myself one of the workers. The senior of the two folks that were working for me, he has a project this week. He's working on another house, doing what they call the layout. When they're setting up all the lines and things like that to prepare for the footers and the beams and stuff like that. So he's still engaged in some construction on his own. Now, yet the other person, the younger of the two, Marlon, who is working yesterday, and we're going to look here in just a minute what he accomplished yesterday. I'm giving him a little bit of time off because we're waiting on more of the stone cladding to come in. And it's just some really small items, really not a day's worth of work for him to come out here and do any work here with us today. Basically, mainly it's the steps. Well, there's really not a lot to do today out here in this area except for doing the grass blocks, and that's what I'm going to work on today myself. I'm just going to take my time, and I should have started while the house was shading this area right here. I just been enjoying the morning, talking with Ness and doing some watering of the yard. Now, the only other time it's going to be nice and shaded here is at the very end of the day, probably around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But I need to get some stuff done. It doesn't matter. I don't mind doing a little sweating here this morning. Well, that's my project for today. There are other projects that need to be done around here. I'm not sure that they'll all get done before Ness arrives in just a few days. But I need to work. I picked up those accessories when I went up to Alabang. Remember, I got all those bath accessories for the second floor. I need to install those, things for towels and little hooks for hand towels, body towels, toothbrush holders and things like that. Those need to get done as soon as possible. But I want to take advantage of the beautiful morning that we have right here. I have to work on this right here. So that's my project. It seems to me there was some other projects that had to be completed. Well, I don't know. The tasks, when you are a homeowner, the tasks are never ending. Well, let me go ahead and get today's started and get that project underway. So, without further delay, let's get today's video underway. So this is going to be my task for today. I'm going to ignore the other tasks that need to be done and focus on this. I want to get this cleaned up. I don't know that I'll get it done by the end of the day if anything else comes up, but I'll work my best. It depends on if I have to do any chipping for the grass blocks that are needed to go into place in between each one of the rises here. So I'm going to work on this. Now, before I get started, I just want to talk a little bit about paver installation, paver or grass block installation, and some proper techniques, because a lot of the folks that come to this channel, they come for some tips, for DIY tips as well. So let me go ahead and start today before I get this started, and let's talk about the preparation that you need for putting down pavers in your yard, whether it be a driveway or a walkway or a patio in your backyard that you want to put for some entertaining. So when you do your grass blocks or your pavers, the first thing you have to do, you have to prepare a foundation for it. You have to do some digging. Well, anyway, like I did. Remember, I did all of this. It was like the last couple weeks before I departed on vacation. I did the entire driveway and the base section down here going into the garage. I did the digging, I did the leveling, I did the gravel base, I did the sand base, and I did the filling of the sand in between the blocks. Well, let's talk a little bit about some requirements. Now, when you're preparing your driveway, your walkway, whatever it is that you're making for your paver or your grass blocks, what you need to do, you need to look at your soil composition. Now, if you have a lot of clay, you really need to dig out as much clay as you possibly can, because clay will hold water and it won't allow the water to drain properly down into the ground. Now, if you have soil like we have here at Villa Feliz, then that's not going to be that much of a problem. I didn't have to dig down too deep. Although we have some clay here, sometimes clay is a good thing, a little bit of clay, because it retains some of the water, like I said, and it helps nourish the root system for your plants. But here, in this area right here, not a problem, so I didn't have to dig that deep. Now, once you have your base level kind of cleared out, your soil, where you're going to put your gravel on top of it, you need to determine how much gravel do I need to put down. Now, the normal rule of thumb for when you're putting your paver base down, for the depth, how much gravel that you need. If you're doing just for pedestrian traffic, a walkway, a path going inside your backyard, then you really only need about 4 to 6 inches of gravel base. I believe that's something like 10 to 15 centimeters of gravel. And then you would compact that with a compactor, whether it be a mechanical compactor or with your hands. Now, when you're installing a larger area like a driveway, you might really want to consider renting or purchasing a mechanical compactor like the one that I purchased from City Hardware. It will make the job a lot easier and it will look more professional in the long run. Now, if you are doing a driveway, a big area, a parking lot or a driveway, then the depth of the gravel, the amount that you need, is going to be higher, because you're going to have heavier traffic, which is your vehicles. So the general rule of thumb for a driveway that's going to have vehicular traffic going across is going to be 8 to 12 inches of the gravel. And I normally use 3/4 inch crushed rock aggregate is what I use. And you'll do the same compacting as well. Now, we didn't do quite that amount here at Villa Feliz. I kind of cheated just a little bit, but so far it seems fine. I haven't seen any problem with any settling of any of the grass blocks. And also, you want to make sure you have enough support so that you don't break your pavers or your grass blocks. And the amount, like I said, the 8 to 12 inches recommended for vehicular traffic, I think that's equivalent to 20 to 30 centimeters for those of you that are doing the metric system. Now, let's talk a little bit about the paver base sand that you're going to be putting underneath your grass blocks or pavers to provide the support. I recommend between 1 and 1.5 inches of the paver base sand, and I think that is somewhere between 2.5 and about just less than 4 centimeters of sand that you would use for your base. Let me show you what I use for my paver base sand. Now, what I use for my paver base sand, I use this concrete sand right here. It's probably best to kind of screed some of the rocks and pebbles out of it before you put it in. You really don't want those, because if you have the rocks inside there, any of the gravel inside there, it might cause your paver to rock on top of that piece of gravel, and you take a chance of breaking it. You can use this, but there's also, if you go to your building supply store, most chances, I don't know around in the Philippines, I know in the US, most chances are there is a section that has paver base just specifically for pavers. So that is the type of material you could use, or you could use the stuff that you have, the concrete sand that you have delivered to your site. Now you can see I still have to dig out some mahogany stumps and roots here. My gardener got one of the palms installed, I think this morning or yesterday, I'm not sure. And he has the holes dug for the other one, but we have some challenges here. These mahogany roots and stumps. So I need to get those cut out. And what I'll probably use, I will probably use a little bit of help with the aid of my circular saw to get those out. It's just too difficult to try to do that by hand. It can be done, and they do it by hand around here, but we'll get it done much faster with the circular saw. Let me just remind you, if you are using a circular saw, you need to make sure that you wash as much of the soil content off of the wood when you're cutting out a root inside the ground. Because if you do not get all that sand and dirt off of the stump or the root, what will happen is it will dull your blade super fast, and you'll be going back to the hardware store replacing that because it won't be good for anything else. Time for me to quit babbling on and get to work. Alright, well, it's lunchtime, and I got quite a bit done in the last couple of hours. You can see I got most of it. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Five out of 8. 5 out of 8. I did work on some of it yesterday, so I think I did 3 this morning. But we have 3 left, which means if the weather holds out, which the skies, look at how blue it is. I don't think we're going to have a problem with that. So I think I'll be able to finish. Now this top one, I notice it's not prepped yet. I have to break up some of the concrete residue that's inside the bottom, because if you leave that concrete from them building the steps, it'll pool up, and it doesn't do any good to have grass blocks for drainage if it's not going to drain, if it'll be like a bathtub. So I'll have to break that up. And we would be done if I didn't have to cut all these blocks. Now we are about 4 millimeters, between 4 and 5 millimeters off on every single one of these blocks on one side. When I gave them the measurements, how deep I wanted all the little steps here that goes to the rise on the back, I gave them 20 centimeters. Well, a lot of them are 19 and a half or 19 and a quarter centimeters, which means I have to do the shaving. But it's better to be able to shave off a little bit and make it nice and tight than have it too big and have a big gap. So I don't mind doing it. It's not a big deal. But it's coming out really nice, and you'll see once we put the topsoil and the sod inside here, this is going to come out quite nice. So I'm going to go ahead and do some lunch. It's about 10 after 12 right now, and then after lunch I'll do these 3 in the back. All right, well, here it is. You want to play? Here it is, the end of the day. My gardener's gone for the day. Stop, hop on, stop, give me a break. How come you always do this when I close my video each day? He's a video bomber. So anyway, I got a lot accomplished today, even without having any construction crew here. So let me show you what I did, and I'm going to show you what my gardener Ponciano did during his he works here 4 hours a day, and I'll show you what he did today too. So I didn't complete it. My goal was to complete the entire set of steps, and I could have done that. But when I got to the last 2 sets of steps, I had to stop the video, the time-lapse video, because for some reason, and I don't know why, I think they had extra. They made too much concrete and they dumped it. They dumped the concrete in the last 2 spots here where the grass blocks go. Now remember, you can't leave that concrete under there because it becomes a bathtub. It's like a titanium or concrete bathtub, and it won't let the water drain, and the water will go in there, and you'll get root rot on your grass, and it just needs to find a place for drainage. So I spent, oh my goodness, I spent so much time with this device, this pick kind of a device, sledgehammering the concrete, and I got the next to the last one done, and I still have the one on the top to do. Like I said, I think they just had an overage and they didn't know what to do with the concrete, and they poured it, and it's about 15 centimeters deep of concrete that I'm trying to break through there. Luckily there's no rebar, but it takes a level of effort to do. Plus also I ran out of concrete hollow blocks. I don't have enough to do that last one, so I have to make a short stop at one of the, I think you can get that at Stone 2000 if I'm not mistaken, downtown. But I need 5 more for that very top step to complete that one. Maybe that's a road trip tomorrow, I don't know. So that's what I got done. Oh, and I also filled in a little bit of dirt to give my gardener a head start when he starts putting the sod inside here. So this is some of the good soil. Along with that carbonite rice hull mixed up with it to give the grass a little bit of a jump start, because we are kind of into a winter. We're kind of in winter months, even though it's still extremely hot during the daytime. But it's very cool at nighttime, and the grass is growing a little bit slower because of the cool nights. Well, let's go ahead and look outside the gate at the Hawaiian foxtail palms and see how far Ponciano got on that. Now you remember these were done a couple of days ago, but we hit the stumps of it here. I will tell you, we overcame the challenge. It was tough. We both worked. That's another reason why I'm not finished over there, because I probably spent about an hour and a half today digging around mahogany stumps, and I had a circular saw inside there doing some cutting on that. But we were able to get all of them, all the stumps removed, and we got all of the palms planted. So that's 10 foxtail palms that are in the ground, and hopefully we'll just keep on watering the heck out of them, and that will allow it to grow, the roots to be able to grab a hold of that soil faster. And I would like to, I'm going to take a picture probably tomorrow. I want to see the heights. I don't know what the average annual growth is of a foxtail palm. I'm sure if we Googled it, we could find it. I'm going to Google it later. Well, that's it for today. I need to go in and get a shower. I have been drenched in sweat all day long. But a hard day's work makes you feel really good at the end of the day. And a little bit tired, but it makes you feel good because you got something accomplished. And every time I do a task inside the house here, or anytime the workers get a task done, the sense of accomplishment, and you get to visualize, you get to see the results of your hard labor. It's a very gratifying feeling. Well, like I said, I'm going to close for today. Tomorrow's another day. I don't know what I'm going to be working on tomorrow. Probably that top step, and of course those other things I talked about this morning that are still outstanding. Well, if you enjoyed today's video, please give me a thumbs up. Please share, and if you have not subscribed, just click on that little PI Dream heart in the bottom right hand side of your screen. You'll be subscribed and you'll be notified the next time I upload a new video. So until such time, you have a wonderful and blessed day.